So a mentor of mine once told me something that I've never forgotten. He said that if you can't make your argument clearly and concisely, that you aren't actually convincing others, but rather you're convincing yourself. So today's 8-paragraph, 850-word explanation for the ban, yes, ban of Bullseye's bracers, similarly makes me question their own confidence in their decision. A huge shout out to our channel members for supporting what we do here. If you want to get involved with the channel and the Dice Commando community, please consider joining as a channel member. Remember, these videos are only possible with your support. You can show that support with a like, a subscribe, and by leaving us a comment and sharing your feedback. Community first, and go Commando. Hey there, Flesh and Blood friends, and welcome back to Dice Commando and Go Again, a fabulous cast. And happy Canada Day, unless you're a Ranger, and happy 4th of July, also unless you're a Ranger. Except Drone Riptide, of course, he's still cool, but he doesn't play like a Ranger, so I suppose that holds, but LSS apparently is okay with that. So, look, let's be honest, these BNS announcements have kept me on my toes and always remind me that I clearly have no idea how to play this game. You know, in all fairness, I do have to say, between this one and the last BNS where I was very, very upset about Drone, it's been a theme, you all know, I'm turning into pretty much a negative Nancy now, aren't I? I guess we call them Karens nowadays. I'm probably not using that right, but I'm not a cool kid anymore. I'm an old man. So anyway, tonight we are talking the July 3rd BNS announcement. So some pretty logical things happening, and then some pseudo-logical things. I mean, I want to be very, very clear just from the outset. I actually understand the Bullseye's bracer. See how I do this? It's like a tell, right? Not a good poker player. I do honestly, I understand it a little bit, but I think it's a flawed argument. And I think they think it's a flawed argument too, kind of as I mentioned. But let's just go through this in order, right? So Classic constructed, so there were no changes in Blitz. That's as expected because they're like, there's no data, right? Doesn't matter that Drone is a bad decision, but that's all I'm going to say about that because I've ranted about that millions of times, and I want to try and keep this short because it's late and it's a holiday. I want to be positive. I actually just got back from playing a lot of games with some good friends, casually at a bar, at a tap house. A great time. And I love Fab. I honestly do. I love Fab. I love everything about it. And we got it in the middle of the, we're like, this guy was actually playing Ranger as like it happened. And we're like, what? Anyway. Yeah. Kevin, you all know Kevin. Kevin literally had a full-size bracer on the table playing a commoner game, which granted it's not illegal in commoner, but yeah, anyway, y'all get what I'm laying down. All right. So CC. So Oldhim's gone. When he ascends, he takes Winter's Wells with him. It was banned anyway. One thing about this, bans clearly don't mean banned anymore. We already saw that in Drone when they unbanned something, but we'll talk about that a bit in a second. So, you know, Pulsa Isenloft is unbanned, which makes sense because it was unbanned. Oh, actually, I didn't pick up on that. Pulse is unbanned. See, what does banned mean? Like, why do we have, yeah, I'm going to rant now. Why do we have suspended and banned? Like, you get what I'm laying down here, right? Like, why do we have banned and unbanned and suspended? Anyway, so Bloodsheath Skeleton moves from suspended until Viscera L's to just flat out being banned, which is fine. That's a logical statement. This banning, unbanning, like, why can you unban something? I don't, whatever. Like, what's the point of suspension? Yeah. Anyway, so we go into the Bullseye's bracers, and there's a lot of discussion here. I'm not going to read 8 paragraphs. You probably didn't read 8 paragraphs. You looked at the Cliff's Notes, right, which is up here. Look, let's be honest. It's not the wrong decision in the moment, but I think banning it is the wrong decision. I think you should have suspended it until Lexi goes away, right? And let's go back to things we've talked about many, many times on this channel when it comes to banning things or whatever. Like when, like way in the Wayback Machine, right? Bloop, bloop, when, if that's a Wayne's World reference, many of you young kids probably won't get that anyway. When Plunder Run got banned from CC, I made a very similar argument. I was like, look, this is a card that existed, and then you designed other cards around it, and then it became a bad card, or it became a problematic card, let's say that. And I think this is kind of the same way. I mean, Bullseye's Bracers is like a fundamental, it's the common Ranger piece. It's the common Ranger piece that was there since the beginning, and 3 of a Kind was there. And the argument now is like, well, when you have Voltaire and the ability to multi-load, and you have Endless Arrow, and you have Three of a Kind, Bullseye's Bracers becomes a problem. But that's a lot of if-thens, right? So it's like all these other cards that you've designed, like this thing existed since the beginning, and you designed all these other things that have now made this thing bad. Now, I want to be clear, I'm for progress, I'm for design. If something is actually design limiting, then you should kill it. It should go away forever. I don't feel that Bullseye's Bracers is the design limiting component. I feel that Three of a Kind is probably design limiting for the future of Rangers. And I would bet you in a decade from now, Three of a Kind will probably be banned. And I would argue that today, if we banned Three of a Kind, Bullseye's Bracers wouldn't be as much of a problem. But again, I'm clearly bad at Fab. So, whatever. In the last video 2 days ago, I made the argument about Boltyn Shot. Part of the reason I made the argument about Boltyn Shot was because you could Bullseye's Bracers to throw in Boltyn Shot for 5 goes with reload. So again, I get the argument. Like, I don't think this is, to be clear here, I actually don't think this is a horrible move given the context. But you have to, again, go in the Wayback Machine and be like, but this has been there always, and you designed into it, and now this is the problem to fit. And like, I don't believe this is a problem. That said, let's go ahead and go down to the bottom. I said we're going to read one thing, right? So, if the remover of Bullseye's Bracers, blah, 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 alongside other stuff, were to have an unexpected impact on playability, there's a good chance we would revert this decision. Again, just kind of reinforcing the fact that like bans don't actually mean anything, right? I mean, that's been very clear within the last 2 BNSs. Like, why do we call it that? We should call it suspended and restricted, maybe. Like, we're not banning anything, because you're not. If you can reverse a ban, it's not banned, right? I'm shouting into the screen right now. Am I a crazy person? Clearly I am, because I don't get it. But anyway, I don't think there's a lot more to say here. I'm really bummed about the drone thing, but I fully expected that. So there's not much to talk about there. But, short of, I kind of already ranted a little bit, but hopefully I did it in a coherent manner. And again, I don't want to belabor the point. We'll get in and out. But, like, what's a ban worth? A ban's not worth anything. Why do we have bans if you can reverse a ban? I don't know. Anyway, let me know your thoughts. I know there's a lot of Rangers who are sad. The irony of this is I think Lexi's actually the least affected by this. Like, yeah, let's actually talk. I know I said we're going to go, but let's talk. I think Lexi's actually the least impacted of this. It does hamstring her a little bit. No pun intended for hamstring shot, which she doesn't play anyway. But it does hamstring her a little bit, but it actually impacts Azalea more. It does. That is a true statement. It impacts Azalea more. Now, she wasn't a meta contender, and they have to do their thing for top meta. Completely grant that. No argument. I don't know. It feels bad if you're a Ranger. And again, this is one of those things where I don't feel that Bullseye's Bracer is the problem. I feel that it's a symptom of some other issues. And like one of the ones they spoke to in their 8 paragraphs that you can read on your own was Endless Arrow. Well, Endless Arrow wouldn't be a problem. Bullseye's Bracers loading Endless Arrow wouldn't be a problem if you didn't have the ability to multi-load that, or to Rain Razors it, or to whatever. And I think that's a fair statement. So, I mean, they've got to pull the knobs and levers that they have available. Completely fair. But again, my takeaway from this is, I don't know, why do we call this the bandlet? We saw Drone get unbanned. We saw Pulse of Isenloft get unbanned. If I'm reading that, and to be fair, in the moment that caught me off guard. So that might have actually been suspended, and that might be a typo. I don't know. I actually can't remember. It would have made sense to suspend that actually because of Oldhim. It would have actually. Yeah, I don't know. Now, they do have this thing here about Pulse of Isenloft, Awakening Blood. So Awakening a Blood Sheath, they basically say, like, these cards are fundamentally broken to the game. But again, they made that argument about Drone. So, anyway, that'll do it. I think there's a lot of, I think my intro about, if you're trying to do this and it doesn't make sense, maybe you're trying to convince yourself and not everyone else. So maybe they're trying to convince themselves of where it is. but it doesn't make any sense to me. But like I say, clearly I'm a bad player. So anyway, go Commando.